ousted President Mohamed Morsi prepare for a confrontation with the country's military. Thousands of people have gathered at two Muslim Brotherhood camps in Cairo, following warnings from the army-backed government to end their protest. This comes as Egypt's finance minister tells CNBC that the economy could reach 3.5% growth this year. Joining us now from Cairo is Yusuf Gamal Al-Din. Well, despite the backdrop of political uncertainty, growth still seems to be on the cards for Egypt, Yusuf.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Karen. Just to give you a bit of an update on the ground here. Again, you mentioned supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi gathering in those two key squares. The Ministry of Interior has made it clear that they would no longer tolerate the sit-ins and plan to break them up. The key question right now is when is that going to happen and how is that going to happen? Also, an interesting policy shift to note, perhaps, the United States Secretary of State John Kerry making comments to Pakistan's Geo television saying that the Egyptian military was, quote, restoring democracy, and that the military was asked to intervene by millions and millions of people, and that it did not take over to the best of our judgment so far. This marks a step towards taking a position. Remember, the United States had been very, very cautious about describing the situation and the change in government in this country. Now, when it comes to the economy, of course, a lot of questions. It's taken a major hit over the last 2 years or so. It used to be very, very popular with foreign investors, and a lot of them are now thinking, well, is it a good time to step back into the fray? Well, I sat down with one of the key decision makers, the Minister of Finance himself, Ahmed Galal, and asked him what he plans to do in the next 6 months.
People want predictability. People want to know that things are going to fall into place the right way. So the more progress we make on the political front, the easier it is for a Minister of Finance or all other ministers who are concerned with the economic side of things. Their job will be a lot easier because with confidence, investors can come back, tourists will come back, the economy will be activated, the place will be more attractive, life will be better.
Egypt's economy grew by 2.2% in the second quarter of 2013. That compares to 5.3% a year earlier. What is your new target for economic growth?
Well, I think actually all transitions, the economic performance during all transitions everywhere, not just in Egypt, always goes through a slowdown, inability to create enough jobs, investment is not taking place, imbalances are taking place, also budget deficits are growing, inflation is higher, and these problems are not new. All transitions go through these difficulties. In fact, I would even argue that the difficulties the Egyptian economy is going through now are less severe compared with the problems encountered, for instance, in Eastern Europe during the transition. We don't have a negative GDP. When you tell me 2.2% of GDP, that's actually higher than a negative.
So what is your target?
A neighborhood of 3.5. I believe that the potential of the economy under normal circumstances is in the neighborhood of 4.5 to 5. We are operating under below potential, that's for sure. But given that we want to activate the economy, I do believe that this year we can possibly reach 3.5 to increase afterwards.
Of course, what's going to help in this transition, Karen, are some $12 billion in aid pledges from the oil-rich Gulf countries to support both the budget deficit and the dwindling foreign currency reserves. The minister made it clear to me that a loan agreement with the IMF is not the solution. It would be part of the solution. Interestingly enough, yesterday the central bank surprised pretty much everybody with a rate cut by 50 basis points on its benchmark interest rate because it was more worried about the growth prospects than it was about inflation. In any case, the stock exchange closing the week higher and on the month is up some 8%.